Beneath the eternal streets of Rome, where marble whispers and shadows breathe through the cracks of ancient catacombs, there lies a place no map dares to mark. A monastery built not for worship, but for silence, its doors sealed by the church itself, its name erased from every archive, every confession, every soul that once dared to speak it aloud. They called it the Monastery of the Veiled Light, and for centuries, no one knew what happened to the monks who vanished inside. Until now. They say history is written by the victors, but beneath Rome, history was buried alive. In the heart of the Vatican archives, there are chambers even cardinals are forbidden to enter. Behind locked gates, beyond the dusty manuscripts of papal decrees, lie fragments of a story so dangerous that it was torn apart word by word and scattered across centuries. It begins in the year 1198, when Pope Innocent III sat upon the throne of St. Peter, a man of unmatched power and impossible fear. Europe trembled under his command, and yet even he spoke of shadows beneath his city. The Holy See had always known Rome was built upon Rome, layers of empire, paganism, and faith stacked like forgotten bones. But beneath even the oldest catacombs, beyond the graves of martyrs and the vaults of emperors, there was said to be something older, a silence so pure it drove men to madness. According to one surviving letter, written by a Dominican friar named Brother Lucian of Tivoli, a small order of monks discovered a cavern while digging foundations for a chapel near the Tiber's bend. Inside, they found a staircase carved directly into obsidian rock, spiraling downward, impossibly smooth, as if shaped by hands not of this world. Lucian wrote, "It felt not like descending into earth, but into the memory of God himself." The monks followed the path, carrying candles and prayers. What they found was no cavern. It was a structure, a monastery, built entirely underground. Its walls glowed faintly as if infused with light. There were rooms, altars, corridors, but no crosses, no symbols, no scripture, only murals, strange, shifting images that seemed to breathe when you stared too long. And in the deepest chamber stood an altar of glass. Upon it rested a book. No ink, no parchment, just light, shimmering, alive. Lucian claimed the monks could hear it, not with their ears, but their souls. They believed they had found the Sanctum Lucis, the chamber of light spoken of in apocryphal texts long banned by the church, a place where the voice of the divine could be heard directly, unfiltered, unmediated by priest or pope. If true, it was heresy of the highest order. Within months, word reached the Vatican. The Pope sent an inquisition under the guise of spiritual inspection. Every monk was taken, interrogated, and silenced. The monastery was sealed beneath tons of stone. The entry site was declared cursed, and the nearby chapel was burned. Rome forgot, but secrets never die. Centuries passed. The plague came and went. Empires rose and fell, and beneath the cobblestones the monastery slept, its glow fading into the silence of time. Until the year 1943, when Nazi forces occupied Rome, they began digging tunnels beneath the city to store stolen art and gold. One of those tunnels, near the ancient Cloaca Maxima, struck something solid, not stone, glass. A lieutenant named Karl Reinhardt was the first to enter. His diary, found years later in a Swiss safe house, describes a hall of mirrors buried in darkness. He wrote of murals that shifted like reflections in water, and of voices whispering in Latin, though no one was there. He ordered his men to seal it off and report nothing, but greed has a way of guiding hands. Reinhardt returned alone that night with a lantern. What he found inside would follow him to his grave. He described seeing a figure, tall, draped in white, its face obscured by a veil of light. It spoke not in words, but in emotions, sorrow, warning, despair. When he turned to flee, the lantern went out. Days later, his unit was found, all of them dead, faces frozen in terror, pupils burned white. Reinhardt vanished. His name was erased from records. The Nazi files on Operation Sanctum were confiscated by Allied forces and locked away. The church denied everything, but whispers spread again, through scholars, priests, and grave diggers, of a forbidden monastery beneath the city that no one could map, and no one could enter twice. In 1972, a Jesuit historian named Father Matteo Corvi became obsessed with the legend. He claimed the monastery was not demonic, but divine, that it contained a living relic capable of revealing the true face of God. He devoted his life to finding it. Corvi scoured every apocryphal text, every forbidden gospel, every suppressed letter from the Inquisition. In one of Lucian's surviving fragments, he found coordinates, encoded in scripture verses and astronomical alignments. And one summer night, under the moonlit ruins of the old Forum Boreum, Father Corvi descended into the earth. He carried only a crucifix relics, a lantern, and a recorder. The tape was found years later, corroded and incomplete, but what survived was chilling, static, footsteps, breathing, then a voice, trembling. It's real. The walls, they're breathing. There's light. My God, it's singing. Then silence. Corvi was never seen again. 2 weeks later, a section of the Tiber embankment collapsed. Locals reported seeing strange light beneath the water, faint, golden, pulsing like a heartbeat. Divers were sent. They found nothing but mud and ruin. Yet one of them, a young diver named Enzo, told a reporter he saw something. Just before his oxygen cut off, he said he glimpsed a cross made of glass, floating in the dark. When he reached for it, it vanished. Enzo never dove again. Today, the Vatican denies the monastery ever existed. Officially, there is no record of Brother Lucian, of Father Corvi, or of any Inquisition linked to such a site. Yet behind closed doors, priests still whisper prayers to the veiled light. The most haunting clue emerged only recently, in 2016, when a team of urban explorers entered a sealed tunnel beneath Trastevere. They expected Roman ruins. What they found defied explanation. Their footage, later banned on YouTube and mirrored only briefly on dark web archives, showed arched corridors lined with obsidian. The walls emitted a faint glow. Strange symbols, neither Latin nor Greek, pulsed when exposed to flashlight beams. And for a single frame, barely visible, there appeared a shadow moving across the back wall. A tall, slender figure watching them. They fled. Days later, one of the explorers died in his sleep. Cardiac arrest, age 27. The others refused to speak. What was this place beneath Rome? Was it truly a monastery or something older, hidden under the guise of faith? Some historians believe it dates back to pre-Christian mystery cults, followers of Mithras, or even remnants of Etruscan priests who worshipped light as divine consciousness. Others believe it was the church's greatest secret, a vault built to contain an artifact too powerful for mankind. Some point to writings of Saint Malachi, who prophesied of a hidden altar where the voice of God will burn through the veil of flesh. And then there are those who say it was never meant to be found, that it wasn't a monastery at all, but a prison. Because what if that light, that voice, wasn't God? The deeper one dives into these accounts, the stranger they become. The glass altar, for example, described by multiple witnesses, is said to resonate at a frequency measured in ancient chant notation, a sound that induces visions, euphoria, even madness. It's been theorized that the so-called Book of Light was not text, but technology, something preserved or buried long before Rome itself, perhaps a relic from a civilization that vanished beneath the flood of time. But the church's obsession with control, with silence, with secrecy, suggests they knew exactly what it was and feared it. Why else seal an entire monastery under rock, destroy every record, and execute every witness? If you walk the streets of Rome today, you can still feel it. In the air beneath the Pantheon, in the echo of your steps near the Vatican's edge, the ground trembles faintly, as if breathing. Locals call it Il Respiro di Roma, the breath of Rome. Most dismiss it as shifting groundwater, but those who've spent time near the old ruins say the air carries a faint hum, a resonance that seeps into the bones. Some tourists report dreams after visiting, dreams of golden light, of chanting in forgotten tongues, of eyes watching from beneath the marble. And every few years, when heavy rains flood the Tiber, something strange happens. The river glows faintly, not visibly, but photographically. Cameras capture streaks of light no human eye can see. NASA dismissed it as electrical interference. The Vatican offered no comment. But one Jesuit scholar, speaking anonymously, said something that still chills me. When the floodwaters rise, the monastery breathes. And when it breathes, the city remembers. Because maybe Rome isn't just a city built on ruins. Maybe it's built on a wound, a scar that still bleeds light. Every civilization hides its shame. Every faith buries what it cannot explain. The church silenced Galileo for seeing beyond earth. What would it do to those who saw beyond heaven? Perhaps the monks of the veiled light found something pure, something divine, something that stripped away the need for priests, rituals, and power. Perhaps they touched the truth and were punished for it, or perhaps they opened a door that was never meant to be opened. Either way, the silence that followed was not holy, it was strategic. There are still places in the Vatican you will never see. Corridors behind frescoed walls, sealed staircases beneath St. Peter's Basilica. Pilgrims pray above, never knowing that miles below them lies a labyrinth of bones, artifacts, and rooms erased from record. Among them, perhaps, still stands that glass altar, cold, waiting, humming in the dark. And maybe it's not just waiting to be found. Maybe it's listening, because sometimes when the wind moves through the catacombs, the echo sounds almost human, almost like chanting, almost like the city itself is praying to something buried far below. And if you stand very still, in the quiet corners of Rome where tourists never wander, you might feel it too. A soft vibration beneath beneath your feet, like a heartbeat, like a whisper. The monastery beneath Rome may be forbidden, but it is not gone. It's waiting beneath centuries of stone, lies, and faith for someone brave enough or foolish enough to listen again. Because beneath every empire, beneath every altar, beneath every word carved in marble, there is always a secret, and the deeper you dig, the more it stares back. So when you next walk through Rome and feel the ground tremble, remember this: you might not be standing above history. You might be standing above a warning. If this story made you question what lies beneath history, subscribe for more.